Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 12th virtual cultural exchange between Morocco and Gibraltar. This event is organized jointly by the Gibraltar Morocco Business Association, of which Mr. Clive Reid is president, and the Strait of Gibraltar Association, of which Mr. Brahim Krikaz is the president. I am Henry Sacramento, your host this evening. Today, we feature a very well-known Moroccan professor of English literature. Before I introduce him, let us see some footage of some of his work so far. And a big thank you must go, of course, to the young man that edited that video for us, Mr. Abdelhani Kukus. Thank you very much once again. Also remind our viewers that they will be able to put questions to our guests this evening. Let me introduce him. He was born in the region of Mokriset on the 1st of January 1974. Mokriset, which is part of Chefchaouen. He has a BA in English Literature from the Abdel Malik Essadi University in Tétouan, and MA and PhD in Moroccan Cultural Studies from Sidi Mohammed Ben Abdallah University in Fez. His fields of scholarly interests are English literature, Moroccan cultural studies, post-colonial studies, and cross-cultural translation. His academic vision is inspired by a special interest in Anglo-Moroccan encounters in their historical, diplomatic, literary, artistic, sporting, and cultural dimensions, with a particular focus on Moroccan professional encounters in British and American theatre and circus shows, 1800s up to now. He is currently rewriting his PhD manuscript into a book, Moroccan Acrobats in Great Britain, a cross-cultural reading. He is currently an Associate Professor of English Literature, Cross-Cultural Translation and Cultural Studies at English Department, Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences in Abdel Malik Essadi University in Tétouan. Good evening and welcome, Professor Layachi EL Habbouch.
Good evening, Henry. So welcome today.
What a pleasure to have you with us, especially on this 12th edition. Today we actually achieved our first anniversary of these cultural events. Share with us, Professor, why your interest in the English language?
So thank you very much once more again. So the pleasure is all mine, Henry. So first of all, I would love to thank you for your invitation to this interview. And I am more than delighted indeed to participate in your cultural exchange today. And
We're
many thanks
delighted
as
to
well.
have you.
Thank you. And many thanks as well should go to Stephen Marine, the Managing Director of Gibraltar Morocco Business Exchange, and Brahim Kriqas, the Director of Strait of Gibraltar Association, who have recently invited me for a communication meeting in order to put me in the picture of their common vision on how to develop relations between Tangier and Gibraltar, Morocco, and Great Britain in general. And of course, a big welcome to our audiences in Morocco, Gibraltar, and Great Britain, and the Anglophone world in general. So our audiences on both sides of the Mediterranean are cordially invited to participate in this cultural exchange by asking questions, giving comments, and expressing their views. Of course, my own story with English is the story of a 15-year-old, let's say kid, adolescent, youngster, whatever, who got fascinated with the way his teacher of English spoke, acted, and taught. The story goes back to 1989 when I first started studying English as a common core student at high school in a small village called Zumi. I had to leave my small village, Muqrisat, in order to study at Muhammad, the 5th high school in Zumi, the neighboring village. Wow. I can never forget my first encounter with my first teacher of English, Mr. Fadel Ridwan, who is now based in Spain, who looked very different from all the other teachers indeed. He was young, strong, sport-looking, humorous and friendly, dynamic, very agile, so smart, but firm and hardworking. So I can never forget the way he used to drill some vocabulary items. And I was going to study English for the first time, and I kept drilling and saying, this is a man, this is a woman. Again, 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 please, again. So as an outcome of this powerful fascination, my self-esteem turned out to be higher and higher. So I started to work hard on my English in order to make myself visible within my class community. And I think, luckily enough, I did. So my teacher of English suggested that I should go and study English in Chefchaouen in late March 1990, within the scope of what was called at the time Préformation in English, in French, a sort of pre-training to develop a special class dedicated for advanced English in order to prepare students to do their English studies at the university. So I had to sit for both the written and oral exams, and luckily I got selected. Hence, I had to move to the town of Chefchaouen, the very Andalusian town where I was privileged, again, to have had the chance to meet another outstanding teacher of English who changed my life in a significant way. That was Mr. Abraq Abdel Ghaffar, who has had powerful impact on generations of students at Moulay Rashid High School in Chefchaouen. So I had the chance to be the student of such a great teacher. Mr. Abraq, again, was very friendly, so modest, happy looking, and extremely hardworking. Indeed, he had a powerful pedagogical perspective that was founded on the use of a highly effective, supportive approach and demonstrated communicative competence. When I got my bac degree, I was lucky, again, to meet him with almost all my classmates. Wow. When we got our final results, he confidently said, Habbouch, Hammiwi, Muzrati, you can go for English studies at the university. Those were the early beginnings of my fascination with the English language before I started my second journey at the university, where I met such inspiring professors such as Jamal Din Ben Hayoun, Abdul Latif Aqbib, Abd Nabi Sarroukh, Ridwan Al-Ayyadi, Abd Razzaq Sghir, Hassan Su'li in Tetouan, and such influential professors as Khalid Bakawi, my PhD supervisor, and his best friend Sadiq Raddad, Muhammad Bennis, and Ridwan Al-Ayyadi, Ridwan Al-Khayyati, rather, in Fez. So when I started working as a teacher of English in Ouled Zbeir in the region of Taza, I was always fascinated with finishing my studies. And that's why I went back to Dar al-Mehraz faculty in 2003, and I wanted to start an MA in philosophy called Comprehension and Interpretation. But suddenly I discovered myself to be studying in Arabic, and I said, come on, I got my BA in English literature, so I should go back to English studies. So I started an MA program at Dar al-Mehraz faculty while I was working at Lycée Zaytoun in the region of Taza. So I started an MA program in Moroccan cultural studies, and I got my MA in 2007 with an MA thesis entitled The Self and the Other in Moroccan Travel Accounts on Spain in the 17th century, and later started, I think in 2009, my PhD. And I was basically working on Moroccan ambassadorial journey to Britain, or journeys to Britain. But suddenly I changed my mind into acrobats when my supervisor introduced me into this forgotten history of Moroccan acrobats in Britain with few advertisements. And later I started doing some archival excavation of the experiences of Moroccan acrobats in British newspapers and other archives. And that's how I got to
Which is a
continue.
subject we're going to be talking about a bit later on. But let me ask you, early beginnings of Moroccan encounters with Gibraltar and Christian Spain, 711, Tariq ibn Zayed crossing the Mediterranean Sea to Spain, 711 to 1492. How, if at all, has history influenced our present state?
Yeah, thank you very much for this interesting question. This is a very important question indeed to keep in mind. So without understanding history, we cannot build strong and sustainable futures. The early beginnings of Moroccan encounters with Gibraltar and Christian Spain go back to 711, when Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Mediterranean Sea to Spain, inaugurating the inception of Muslim Spain, which is known in Arab historiography as Al-Andalus, viewed as the lost paradise of Muslims in Europe. Hence the name of Gibraltar is basically defined by the name of Tariq ibn Ziyad, who was the military leader of Moroccan conquest of Spain, which is often referred to in Islamic historiography as Islamic opening, al-Fath al-Islami in Arabic. So, of course, the almost 800 years of Muslim rule of the Iberian Peninsula from 711 to 1492 left a rich Muslim experience of what is known in history as convivencia, where Muslims, Christians, and Jews live together.
Yes.
So the Moroccans or Muslims of Spain built the whole social system on interracial marriage and cross-cultural and religious tolerance. This is why, biologically speaking, people on both sides of the Mediterranean still keep showing similar physical features. They have, look at us. If we look at each other, we seem to have common physical features. We have inherited ancestral genealogies that invite us to look ahead towards the future with interconnected histories and memories. But of course, Muslim Spain turned out to be the most powerful beacon of learning and the major center for such thriving sciences as mathematics, astronomy, pharmacology, agronomy, and surgery. And indeed, Muslim Spain was marked by the rise of Islamic enlightenment, while Europe was yet under the power of the Dark Ages. But of course, history kept shifting. If you are victorious today, you could be defeated tomorrow. So the triumphant Reconquista of the last decade of the 15th century brought an end to the Islamic rule over the Iberian Peninsula. Yet, Muslims left a rich cultural and architectural legacy in modern Spain and Portugal, which is yet at the center of modern Spain and Portugal's touristic cultural industry. So the Reconquista brought about the expulsion of the Jews in 1492 and the expulsion of Muslims in 1609, the Inquisition, and the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus, according to the European narrative. But it is important, however, to keep in mind other narratives, such as the Moroccan one and the Chinese one on the controversial discovery of America. Ever since that time, we've got the rise of colonial encounters, which will end up in colonialism as a political, military, and economic process of appropriation in the 19th century. This is a very complex story indeed. We cannot cover that in an interview at all.
Absolutely
not. Within this context, Gibraltar continued to play an important role in facilitating trade interactions between the Maghreb or North Africa and Christian Europe, and also kept connecting both sides of the Mediterranean to Asia and America through the Atlantic. So you could see from this general and short overview on those encounters between Morocco and Southern Europe from the 8th century till now, history and geography still influence our present. We are geographically closer to each other, and we've got interconnected histories and intertwined cultures. That is why it is important to think about how we could make use of this historical consciousness to generate more empowering encounters for both sides, the Moroccan side as well as the Gibraltarian side at this stage.
That was going to be my next question, Professor. Why is it important to start international cooperation on historical, cultural, and civil foundations between Tangier, Tetuan, Al Hoceima region, and Gibraltar, Morocco, and Great Britain?
It is very important indeed to start international cooperation between Tangier, Tetuan, Al Hoceima region, and Gibraltar, Morocco, and Great Britain. But before I answer this question, I would like, first of all, to highlight that the post-COVID era will be marked out by strong determination of Morocco and Great Britain to put into effect their joint roadmap into a strategic, political, and economic partnership, We have got Great Britain looking for new partners in the aftermath of the Brexit, as everybody should know, and we've got Morocco on the way to start the implementation of a 15-year new development model, 2020-2035, in order to improve living standards and social protections. So within the scope of this emergent context of the Brexit, Morocco is politically viewed as a privileged partner. However, economic and political partnership is not and never enough. It's so important and very crucial. However, it should also be accompanied with cultural and civil forms of partnership. But before that, nothing works without going back to common histories and intercultural memories. And hence I come to the historical question, which is extremely important. It is very strange indeed that we are geographically very close, but culturally and socially we are too distant. This is the first challenging irony.
Yes.
Therefore, academic communities are invited to collaborate in order to shed light on the common histories of Tangier and Gibraltar, Morocco and Great Britain, to create more sustainable futures for Morocco and Britain, Tangier and Gibraltar. We need, first of all, to define our political and diplomatic, commercial and economic, as well as literary and artistic histories as forms of cross-cultural encounters. Let me start with the literary encounters from the British side. In the aftermath of the end of Muslim rule over Spain in 1492, and the Battle of Alcazar in 1578, Ma'arakat Wad al-Makhazin in Arabic, too many English men of letters started using either Moorish or Moroccan characters. In drama, we've got Thomas Decker's Last Dominion, 1657. We've got Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus, 1594. We've got Othello, 1601. George Peele's The Battle of Alcazar, acted in 1588 and printed in 1594. We've got John Dryden's The Conquest of Granada, 1670. We've got Afraben's Abdel Azer, 1677-76. William Congreve's The Morning Bride in 1697. In fiction, we've got Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, 1721. In captivity narratives, we've got The Adventures of Thomas Pellow, 3 and 20 Years of Captivity Among the Moors, 1716. And The Female Captive by Elizabeth March, 1756. These are just examples from the 16th and 17th as well as 18th centuries. As for the political, for example, and diplomatic side, I would love to talk about it from the Moroccan side. We've got a whole body of ambassadorial journeys to Britain by Moroccan diplomats ever since the Elizabethan age. We've got such Moroccan ambassadors, almost 49 so far, to Britain, such as Abdul Wahid bin Saud, the third Moroccan ambassador to Queen Elizabeth I, 1600. There is a very important painting of this interesting Moroccan ambassador to Queen Elizabeth. Of course, Morocco was fascinated, or Britain, I mean, Elizabeth I was fascinated with the idea of cooperating with Ahmed al-Mansur Dahbi, the Moroccan king who won the Battle of Alcazar. We've got Mohammed bin Haddou, who was sent to the English court of Charles II by the Sultan of Morocco, Moulay Ismail, in 1681 and 1682. He was too curious to visit Oxford and Cambridge and became a fellow of the Royal Society in April in 1682. We've got Abdullah ibn Aisha, who spoke Spanish and English fluently, and who visited France and England in 1699. And ever since the 19th century, Moroccan ambassadors to Britain started to get accompanied by writers to record their embassy travel experiences. Muhammad Tahir al-Fassi in 1860, for example, recorded Al-Amin Saeed Muhammad Shami's diplomatic visit to Queen Victoria in England. That is just an example. We've got a whole body of Moroccan embassy travel accounts, not only on Britain, but also on many other countries such as Spain and France, ever since the 17th century. Commercially speaking, again, I go back to the English fascination with trading with Morocco. Following the Battle of Alcazar, Queen Elizabeth I established the Barbary Company in 1585 in order to provide England with sugar and weapons for English cloth. Ever since that time, the English have been fascinated with the idea of free trade with Morocco, and that took centuries to be achieved until the Anglo-Moroccan Treaty of 1856 was signed in 10 years on December the 9th between John Hyde Drummond High, representative of Queen Victoria, and Muhammad al-Khatib, representative of Sultan Abdul Rahman. So as you could see from what has been said so far, we've got a very strong historical background of diplomatic, political, commercial, literary, and artistic encounters. So we're going to see, as we're going to see with Moroccan acrobats in Victorian theaters and circuses of the 19th century. Of course, all such encounters as cross-cultural forms of interaction and exchange between Morocco and England, and later on Great Britain. So this rich background urges all of us to work together in order to, first of all, shed light on those encounters, revive them in order to shift into more empowering civil encounters between our communities in Morocco and Great Britain, Tangier and Gibraltar. I will probably talk about this later as we proceed on.
I was going to ask you, because your PhD dissertation is on Morocco professional entertainers in Victorian Britain, early beginnings, legal and legislative consequences, social and cultural ramifications on British society. If you care to share that with us.
Yeah, of course, with a lot of pleasure, and thank you very much for this extremely important question. Yeah, of course, the experiences, stories of Moroccan acrobats have been forgotten, have been put into oblivion. And I was really fascinated with the stories and archives of Moroccan acrobats in Britain and later on in America. So the early beginnings of course, in national and colonial historiographies, there is always some extensive and intensive focus on diplomatic and political relations to the exclusion of the artistic encounters between Morocco and Great Britain. It is surprising that Moroccan artists should go and get to perform in British and American theaters and circuses later on within the age of British and American circusiana. The early beginnings, of course, to understand the way they moved, or they were able to move and get to cross borders between Morocco, Gibraltar, and Britain, it's very important to go from the Moroccan side into the treaty, the commercial treaty of 1856. Morocco and Britain started to encourage and reinforce commercial transactions between Morocco and Britain. Of course, Moroccan acrobats went to Britain basically as cultural traders. This was a cultural trade. But from the British context, it's very important to understand that the Victorian age is the age of collection par excellence. We have got a new role of natural historians working within a larger context of a certain Darwinian worldview, which was based within the colonial context on the essentialist opposition between civilization and primitiveness. And of course, this age of collection became predominant, prevalent across disciplines. In philosophy, we've got Darwin, we've got so many ethnologists setting up the British Ethnological Society in 1843. We've got travel writers, we've got photographers or ethnographic photographers, and later on we've got cinema and so on. So all this process was meant to collect as much information, as possible about the non-Western other. So Moroccan acrobats went to Britain as native artists, collected to perform Moroccan acrobatics. And of course, they had to cross Tangier. They emigrated from the south of Morocco. Most of them, according to the archives of God, were basically Moroccans who came from Moroccan Sahara, from the southern part of Morocco, and lived long enough in Tangier, the place from which they crossed into Britain. And of course, they were introduced to British audiences in circumstances as Morocco Arabs, Bedouin Arabs, the Berbers of the Atlas, the Berbers of Sidi Ahmed Musa. Yeah, we understand this ethnological vision, which was based on this Darwinian mindset, which was prevalent at that time. But of course, we can never ignore the fact that Moroccan acrobats contributed to the establishment of the modern circus in Britain and America. And of course, it is surprising that some Moroccan acrobats had a business mindset at the time. Al-Hajj Ali bin Muhammad was a Moroccan acrobat who started the first Moroccan acrobatic company in Britain in 1868, made of Moroccan acrobats, men and women, children and older people. This is really interesting.
Fascinating.
This is extremely fascinating, actually. And of course, in Britain, you have to understand that this is the industrial age. We've got the rise of the poorer classes. And hence, we had problems with children coming from poor families, having to go and get to work in coal mines and so on. And they were also apprenticed in circuses, especially in some Moorish circuses, they were called according to British newspapers. So that's why the rise of this trend of children's rights in Victorian Britain, as far as acrobatics and circus arts are concerned, led to some important legal and legislative consequences.
Yeah.
So the British Parliament started to legislate for those, legislate for those arts with the Acrobats Bill in 1872, and then later on we've got the Dangerous Performances Bill in 1879. Our audiences could be surprised that legislators were not worried only about children being apprenticed, but also about women being participants in those arts and crafts. It is surprising that Moroccan women like Najat Amburg, who was in England in the third decade of the 19th century and moved to America later and got an American passport. So it's surprising that Moroccan women were part of this industry, this culture, this cultural trade of circus arts called Moroccan acrobatics. And of course, Moroccan acrobats started even to apprentice British children.
Wow.
In some Moroccan called Moorish circuses. Al-Hajj Ali ibn Muhammad, for example, is famous to have apprenticed so many British children. And there was a big debate going on in British newspapers when they moved to perform in Turkey in 1882. And the British consul was asked to act on what is happening. And of course, Al-Hajj Ali ibn Muhammad was taken to the court in Britain, but the judge was fair enough. He had some circus contracts apprenticing those children with the approval of their parents.
Parents, yes.
So he was proved to be innocent. So this is...
And within the law.
Yeah, and within the law.
Yeah.
So this is a very important experience indeed, as I see.
Is the history of Moroccan professional entertainers still important today, Professor?
Yeah, of course. The history of Moroccan professional entertainers is still important today. I do believe so. The archives of these Moroccan professional entertainers and their circus friends in Britain and elsewhere have to be collected and developed into documentaries, both in English as well as Arabic. So Moroccan and British documentary filmmakers are invited to develop a certain consciousness in order to play an important role in visualizing Moroccan and British performance encounters. Second, we have to think about writing their own artistic, literary, and social biographies, and the biographies of the circus owners in Britain with whom they performed for British audiences. We have to also think about developing portraits for them for the sake of common exhibitions, both in Gibraltar or Great Britain and Morocco. Hence, both Moroccan painters and artists can start meeting, knowing, and collaborating with each other. We have to find the necessary infrastructure to teach the sport and art of Moroccan acrobatics and British and Gibraltarian performing arts and sports for both Moroccan and British or Gibraltarian kids in well-organized spaces. We can think of inshallah, we can think of an inclusive approach to involve children of the street, children who are in vulnerable social situations, in order to empower them to be talented sportsmen and women and artists. We can even think about a common international circus in Tangiers to make the encounters of the 19th century go north-south now and keep the south-north mobility process going for more mutual forms of interaction and exchange. This is important. It is, I do believe, time for cultural and artistic businesses to start acting within the perspective of twinned partnerships, of course, based on win-win sustainable vision. I can conclude as far as this question is concerned. Why not, for example, establishing what I can call the cross-cultural farm of dialogue between Morocco and the Anglophone world, based on the archives of Moroccan acrobats. This could be, I don't know, a very large cultural farm where you could have spaces for circus training, where you could have language centers to teach people from both communities, Arabic and English. You could have libraries. You could have, I don't know, football stadiums. You could have a whole complex in the region of Tangier, Tétouan, and Houssaina. So I don't know what to say, but I have got a clear idea about what I wanted to say. It is how could we make use of this strong past of Moroccan acrobats in American and British circuses and get to revive them and put economic, cultural, social encounters into a new dynamic process where we could generate a lot of financial, business, as well as symbolic and cultural.
I was going to say we probably need someone to invest a lot of money in a project like that, but everything is possible. Thank you very much for that. We have our president, Brahim Krikas, joining us, that says, many thanks to Professor Layachi for accepting our invitation to attend our 12th cultural exchange event that brings together the British Overseas Territory of Gibraltar and the Kingdom of Morocco through distinguished and influential personalities. Thank you very much, Brahim.
Thank you, Brahim.
And we have Gibraltar Morocco United saying greetings from Gibraltar. Thank you very much for being there as well. And we have possibly a former student of yours, Hafsa Eraisi Alawi. Greetings to our professor.
Yeah, thank you.
And Mohammed Imrani saying, thank you, Dr. Layachi, for sharing your wonderful journey and great experience. Oh, and Ben Takib Ahmed is saying, what a lovely interview. Thank you, Dr. Layachi. Thank you. Thank you. Seymour El Cohen says, such a top-notch interview with our dearest professor ever since. Thank you very much, Seymour. And my next question, we're going to move away from the subject completely, because you're also a coordinator with REAP Charity. Can you share with us what is REAP and what exactly do you do?
Yeah, thank you very much. So first of all, what is REAP? So REAP is an abbreviation for Religions, Environment and Education Program. It is basically an environmental British charity promoting cultural and horticultural exchanges between Morocco, Spain, and Britain through a series of interconnected smart projects. Part of this is from the Shore to Shore project, which is an intercultural and interfaith project, which creates spaces for young people from both Morocco and Britain to work together through the arts, through debating and gardening. So the REAP also works on Anglo-Moroccan Shakespeare Garden Project, which develops gardens that celebrate the horticultural, intercultural, and interfaith connections between Morocco and England. The Anglo-American Shakespeare Garden records the Islamic garden and the Elizabethan one as green spaces to plant Shakespeare's flowers in both countries, Morocco as well as Britain. So I came to know the director of REAP and the ex-honorary secretary of the British Moroccan Association in London, Mrs. Diana Lassimbe, towards the end of 2016. I was looking forward to find an academic partner for a project that I was thinking about at the time. So a British academic linked me to Diana. Hence, we started communicating using email and later on WhatsApp. I found Diana to be very friendly, so smart and open-minded a person, as well as a hardworking, committed, and dynamic British civil society activist. She's a woman of character with a vision, a strong vision, civic engagement, and has an outstanding communication competence and hard work ethics. Out of this positive impression about Diana, I started to think about collaborating with her. So I invited her to speak to my MA students in a course called Ideas and Ideologies from the Renaissance to the Enlightenment in our MA program at the time, English Literature and the History of Ideas at English Department, Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences in Tetuan in 2017. So Mrs. Diana, being with her great husband, Richards, gave an extremely fascinating presentation on plants and flowers in Shakespeare's work and the history of gardening encounters between Britain and Morocco. That was the beginning of our collaboration. So we asked her a lot of questions and took some photos. She was very happy about my facilitation of this event. So we decided to continue our cooperation. In 2018, I sent an abstract to the organizers of an international conference at the History Department in Sheffield University on circus and beyond, rethinking popular entertainments, and they accepted my application for participation. So I found myself to be face to face with the challenging problem of covering my travel and accommodation expenses. So I tried the faculty budget, but it didn't work. I had to seek help from the British Council, but it didn't work either. So I informed Diana about these facts, and out of her initiative, suggested that REAP would help me, would be pleased to help me with the financial side to participate in Sheffield conference and make the voices of Moroccan acrobats heard. So we developed a larger plan, which was not simply to participate in Sheffield University, but also to give a presentation, a talk to the audiences of the British Moroccan Society on Moroccan acrobatic encounters with Britain as a forgotten artistic and cultural legacy. So I started the visa application process and was able to participate in Sheffield University conference and give a talk to the British Moroccan Association, thanks to REAP's bridge and support, and hence the importance of personal connections. If you're an academic and you're not able to develop personal connections, you'll be total failure.
Absolutely,
it means
yes.
Yeah, you will be lacking in terms of communication skills, how to keep it balanced, serious, effective, and productive for serious encounters. So this experience was very rich. I had the chance to be in Stoneleigh Abbey for a few days with Diana and her great husband. I had the chance to be in the same room where Jane Austen had the chance to write her fiction. Diana also introduced me to the National Centre for Circus Arts in London. And I want to talk about the possibility of establishing a National Centre of Circus Arts in Morocco. Why? Why not?
Why not indeed?
Why not indeed? So when I had a visit to the director of the National Centre for Circus Arts in London, where I had a visit, of course, to the director who took me through all the spaces within the wonderful center. That was the real and empowering encounter with contemporary British circus arts. I also had the chance to visit my brother-in-law in London, who took me to the Wembley Stadium.
Very
so
important.
again, this was very important. I could see my family, and Diana suggested whether I wanted to stay in Stoneleigh Abbey, such a wonderful place. Oh my God, you can never forget this place where few artists like Jane Austen lived in the same house with that beautiful garden. Oh my God, you can only imagine.
Yeah.
So I had the chance to see my family. This is very important. I was very curious about how my family lived, and I could see that my brother-in-law and his family members are very happy doing their studies, going to the university in England. That's great. I also had the chance to see some circus performances with Diana and her generous husband, Richard, a lovely person. I had some wonderful pictures with the circus members. That was an amazing moment as well. So automatically, after REAP's support, Diana and I moved forward to start an Anglo-Moroccan Shakespeare garden at the Faculty of Letters and Human Sciences. So just before the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, we were working on establishing Shakespeare Garden Club. We selected university students from the Department of English Studies who wanted to join our club, and involved 2 students from England who were learning Arabic in Fes as well. Unfortunately, we had to stop because of the unexpected outbreak of the pandemic. But of course, we are determined to finish the project in phase and extend it to Tetouan and Tangiers once life should go to normal once more again. So we are still collaborating online. We will have some project called English Through Gardening for primary school kids in Tangiers. I'm still looking forward to find a Moroccan partner before we should switch into bigger projects in Tetouan and Tangier. I'm really very excited to keep working with Diana and her husband. So in brief, this is an important aspect of civil encounters to be reinforced, strengthened, and made more and more successful. We have to capitalize on such experiences. Absolutely. Develop pictures, make pictures, develop documentaries, share with communities, put people together. Otherwise,
I think that if one thing that COVID has taught all of us is to make more use of social media, of the technology that we have available, that whereas before you needed to physically be in a room to meet somebody, now we have platforms such as these that allow us to, for example, in the past, I've interviewed a professor in Germany from, from my home. So, that is one thing that needs to be used. We have Michelle Reed saying, great to be seeing this. It's Clive here. Oh, hello, Clive. Clive, our president from Gibraltar, greeting us. Thank you for joining us. And we have Stephen Marine saying, Professor, welcome to our monthly cultural exchange between Gibraltar and Morocco. As a professor of languages, mainly English, do you feel Gibraltar University could become a closer alternative to learn / practice English?
Yeah, definitely. So thank you very much, Stephen, for these extremely important questions. And welcome to the president and all our audiences on both sides of the Mediterranean. That's a very important question to ask, and it is time to bring the two universities together, Abdul Malik Saad University in Tetouan and the University of Gibraltar. And of course, when we get to meet, I'm very excited, and I want to meet other professors from Gibraltar, and then we can sit down and start working on developing smart ideas into projects which could benefit both of our students as well as students from Gibraltar. And this is going to be a plus. This is very important. But of course, we are here to move beyond those elitist practices of just academics and scholars coming with beautiful ties and speaking in abstract terms and leaving. We want real social, cultural encounters where differences could be seen, could be experienced, could be shared, could be lived together. So this is important. It is no longer acceptable at all that you live in Tangier and you know nothing about Gibraltar, or the other way around. We need to bring academics, artists to cruise in those beautiful spaces. Why not? Celebrating those artistic, academic, historical, whatever kind of encounters. But of course, I will be back to this very important question of Stephen while moving forward.
Let me share with you a little anecdote, because you say people from Gibraltar are not aware of Tangier, but I recently met a young lady, 21-year-old Tanjawi, who's born and lived in Tangier all her life. She had never been to the Casbah of Tangier. I, a British national, gave her a tour of the Casbah of Tangier. Yeah. So, we also need to make the locals aware of their history and their heritage, because we tend to take so much for granted.
Yeah, thank you very much for reminding me. And I will talk about my experience. it is very surprising for me that when I met an American professor who is now the dean of an American university called Richards, he took me to a Moroccan restaurant. I never had the chance to be there and to taste Moroccan Rifian food. Richards did not only back up my application to go for the Fulbright, to apply for the Fulbright exchange program, but also taught me something about my local culture that I didn't know. And this is an irony.
Yes.
And I think you are right. We need to sensitize people both from local as well as global spaces.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professor, I'm very aware that time is running out and we could talk to you endlessly. But one final question that I'd like to put your way, and that is, how do you see Gibraltar Morocco Business Exchange and the Straits of Gibraltar Association playing a vital role in today's Tangier?
Good. So I think this is very important. According to the communication meeting I have had the chance to have with the managing director of the Gibraltar Morocco Business Exchange, Mr. Steve, and the director of the Strait of Gibraltar Association, Mr. Qriqas, I think they have a clear vision as to what is to be done to boost and strengthen relations between Tangier and Gibraltar, as well as Morocco and Great Britain in general. I do believe that the two associations, one which focuses on business investments, and the other one which focuses on social, artistic, and civil encounters, demonstrate a common awareness that the corporate and cultural should go together. But of course, just the two working together is never enough. If you want the impact.
And yes, they work tirelessly behind the scenes. I can vouch for that. One thing which we need to mention as well, Professor, is that we need to reestablish the links that were in place before COVID. March 2020, Royal Air Maroc stopped their flights to Gibraltar. Yeah, they need to be reinstated. The ferry that used to come to Gibraltar needs to be reinstated. We do not have a direct link to Gibraltar. So much as we have great ideas and great plans, unless we create or reestablish the existing links, we won't get anywhere. So I'm appealing here for anyone listening connected with anything that could help to please reestablish those links to enable, you know, people that used to come and go, Moroccan nationals, Moroccan pensioners, please make their lives easier.
Yeah, great. If you want, definitely so, if you want the impact to be strong enough with some tangible results and consequences, we need to network with so many smart individuals and plenty of smart associations, both in Tangier and Morocco, Gibraltar and Great Britain. To say it otherwise, we need to develop a sort of smart think tank. That is to say, a cohort of experts, scholars, community leaders, artists, sportsmen and women, students, corporate leaders, content media developers, to contribute in their own significant ways to the empowerment of the Anglo-Moroccan relations on historical and cross-cultural foundations. Definitely the process of exchange should go step by step, but it is very important to work with a long-term common vision that is founded on strategic thinking and planning, where goals are clearly set and tools viably defined.
And achievable.
I do believe, and achievable, of course. I do believe the first step to make this process of exchange happen is to sit together and develop a platform for smart individuals and proactive associations who are ready to make suggestions, convince other important activists and talented people, and get positively involved in changing the situation of stagnation that has followed from the negative consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Absolutely.
So indeed, for the last 2 years or so, I have been thinking with a number of friends, colleagues, students, and civil society activists in Tangier about starting an association to work on the improvement of Moroccan, British, and American relations. That is to say, the Moroccan Anglo-American encounters. It is meant to move from just academic encounters where academics and scholars come together into civil encounters where artists, activists, community builders, students, families, sports figures come together to socialize, to live together, to speak to each other, and to learn such languages as Arabic and English. We want Gibraltarians as well to learn Arabic, even not to the most advanced level, but when you are interested in my culture, I feel
Absolutely.
proud, because I feel proud. It's not just about keeping those relationships between languages.
I am taking lessons.
Yeah, of course. So you will be welcome. We can teach you Arabic. We can create a language center for both Arabic and English to be learned by Moroccans and by Gibraltarians and British people who are based in Tangier, inshallah.
Professor,
so as you know,
our time is up. I think we need to have you back again to carry on sharing with us so many wonderful ideas. One last word, because we really have to round up now. Yeah. So I just want to talk about the last thing. I had many other important things, but I think we need to find a way into bringing the two universities, Abdul Malik Saadi in Tetouan and the University of Gibraltar, to work together with a collaborative mindset in order to shed light on the economic, diplomatic, political, Inshallah,
and culturally interconnected histories. We can organize conferences, symposiums, and seminars. We can start thinking about twinning MA programs where half of the number is Moroccan and the other one is Gibraltarian or British. We need also to give the chance to professors from both sides to develop exchange programs. I can go to the University of Gibraltar or any other university in Great Britain to teach Gibraltarians or British students, while a Gibraltarian or British professor should take my place in Tetouan.
We look forward to all those future plans coming to fruition. It has been an amazing pleasure having you as our guest today. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, thank you very much for all the participants we've had. This is Henry Sacramento transmitting live from the Casbah in Tangier. We look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.